E.P.L.I, Employer Practices Liability. This is a coverage a lot of business owners don't know they need. So E.P.L.I is an area of the United States labor law that deals with wrongful termination, sexual harassment, discrimination, evasion of privacy, false imprisonment, breach of contract, emotional distress, and wage and hour law violations. It may be categorized as a form of professional liability. Employment Practices Liability Insurance is sold as a type of management liability insurance. Now let me be clear up front. This is the only coverage you have as a business owner between you and your employees. This is protection from your employees that would want to discriminate for sexual harassment, ageism, discrimination, etc. So when that suit would happen, the only actual coverage you have for that, again, this wouldn't fall under general liability. It's its own coverage. And a lot of companies don't have it. A lot of them are even unaware of its existence. It obviously came more prominent with the Me Too movement. Again, sometimes classified as the Me Too insurance coverage, this is a main protection between employer and employee. As a small business owner, here's what you need to know about E.P.L.I. E.P.L.I coverage typically ranges from $1 million to $25 million in coverage limits. Depending on how it's written, an E.P.L.I policy may also cover state and local laws that attempt to address workplace practice issues. Most E.P.L.I policies include a deductible. Once that is met, policies cover the cost of your legal defense, along with the cost of judgments and settlements up to your coverage limit. Employment laws are unusual in that employers, if they lose a case, are usually required to pay the cost of employees' legal fees as well. The cost of your E.P.L.I coverage will be based on, again, type, size, risk profile of your business. As part of this determination, insurance companies may ask to see your written personnel policies to help them assess your potential for risk. Again, so let me say this while we're here. Most businesses don't have a human resources HR department because most small businesses can't afford to have one, sometimes full-time, little, or on the fractional side. So the problem with what E.P.L.I wants to determine is, do you even have any agreements between employer and employee? It's similar like having a contract in place between a business to business. You need to stipulate certain outlines in there because the more you can be clear up front in your employment contract, the better this will serve you on whether it's going to pay or not. So an E.P.L.I policy usually doesn't cover criminal conduct, fines, civil fines, penalties, and punitive damages. E.P.L.I also excludes coverage for claims covered by other insurance policies, including property damage and physical injury. Those would fall under GL and BPP, as we discussed in 101. Some directors and officers' policies may include E.P.L.I coverage, but this may be limited to your company's directors and officers and leave your company vulnerable to litigation directed at other company employees. If an E.P.L.I claim is to be covered, it must be reported to the insurance company while the policy is in effect or within a period explicitly outlined by the policy. Additionally, the event that gives rise to the employee claim must have occurred on or after the start date of the policy. Some insurers may offer retroactive dates. There's also retroactive dates when it comes to professional liability as well. It's important once you have a retroactive date, that means the date in which your company signed up for a policy, that is honored on every policy. So if you switch carriers in the middle of the year, they need to add that retroactive date to that policy to cover that, as well as tail coverage. E.P.L.I game plan. Make it a point to discuss the appropriate E.P.L.I coverages for your business with your insurance professional. This conversation should serve as a great starting point for helping you find out what state and local employment laws you will also need to comply with. Again, you're going to have state and local laws. You're also going to want to have your own employee agreement, such as do not competes, all of these other things in that language. Insurance should always be the last thing that you need. To make it harder for a suit to happen. Many policies will specify that the insurer has the option to choose your legal representation should a claim arise. If you're not comfortable with that, you may want to shop around for a policy that takes your preferences into account. E.P.L.I examples. Hostile work environment. An airline pilot claimed that there were derogatory statements posted by coworkers on the crew members forum. Wrongful termination. Sexual harassment. Retaliation, false representations. Other E.P.L.I claim examples covered are breach of an employment contract, which is why you want one to begin with, negligent evaluation, failure to employ or promote, that could even be ageism or sexism, wrongful discipline, deprivation of career opportunity, wrongful infliction of emotional distress, and mismanagement of employee benefit plans. All those are suits that could be an E.P.L.I claim, and again, without E.P.L.I insurance, you're literally on the hook for those expenses. should you be found liable.